the plan today is to talk about mostly about community engagement, and we got to have a couple of activities. Abby and Allison are going to get us started, and Todd's going to join in. But before that, since not everybody is here, Rochelle, will you tell us about the community walk you did?
Yeah, I can do that.
Cool.
I did, mine was a couple of tweens, one being my son, and we had planned on going on an afternoon after school, but being way up here in the north, it was 20 below zero with wind chills, so we decided not to actually go for a walk, and we did a virtual walk. So we pulled up Google Maps, which ended up being really interesting because places we normally would just drive by, we found new places. We have a new vet opening, I guess, that we had no idea about, just by looking at different things in the community on the Google map. But we talked about what's in the community, different jobs they would like to pursue in the community if they want to go to college, what they would like to do after college, if they would like to come back to Hutchinson, or if they just want to move out to the big city or go somewhere else. And it was interesting because they all wanted to come back. One wanted to come back as a chef and start a new restaurant. And the most interesting comment I got was from one of them who's very into tech stuff, and he wants to do something with animation or like computer coding. And he said he would like to come back to Hutchinson after college because it's his home and where his family is, but he doesn't know what he would do for work because of what he wants to do with coding and animation. So we got to go into a conversation about where could those skills be put into different job places here.
What range of tween? Like what age?
Let's see, I had a 12-year-old and a 11-year-old.
So what were the jobs you came up with that could be animation and coding? Because I think there's probably a bunch, right?
We talked about like working online, doing different online jobs with that, and then we also talked about like we have HTI, which is huge in technology type jobs. We also have a Best Buy location. And then we have a community college, which I found interesting. Neither one even knew about it. So they didn't know what Bridgewater was, which is the name of the community college. So we talked about the different teaching jobs, and it's very tech heavy for degrees there. So
can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't get my sound figured out. We got it figured out. Sorry to interrupt, Rochelle.
That's okay.
That was fun, Valley. That's okay.
Yeah, I moved the camera because I didn't want to put my IT person on camera, and so okay, we're good.
That's great.
That sounded awesome, Rochelle.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm not sure I would have been creative enough. Am I not muted? I'm not sure I would have been creative enough to do the online version. That is cool. I like that a lot. Yeah.
I think they had fun. They each had their own device out and zoomed into different parts of the town and communities, or in some of the businesses, we'd click into their websites to see what they actually did. And so it was interesting.
Yeah, that's very cool. Any questions or anything for Rochelle? I love that. And Kate, I hear through the grapevine that you also had a really interesting community walk. Am I right, Abby? Okay.
So Kate, I think it would be cool to hear, I know you just shared it with me, so if you don't want to, you don't have to. But in our email one-on-one, you kind of shared some insights that you didn't share on the COP.
Oh, now I have to remember what those were.
I know, I'm looking now too.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was a perspective shifting opportunity for me. I just did it by myself for the moment, but I might repeat it at some point with others, including with some young people. But I was really kind of blown away at how much I found, like, because I told my youth services department head that I was going to start with Bayfield, and then, like, if I needed to, because Durango is like 30 minutes away. Like, if I needed to expand out to Durango down to Ignacio, which is about 20 minutes away, and kind of see how things went from there. But I spent all my time like in Bayfield, which I didn't realize was gonna happen. So, oh yeah, and so then what I did is I took so I was like jotting. I was like I'd drive a block, and then like I was waiting for like the marshals to show up and be like, who is that crazy lady in her car, like stopping, pulling her, scribbling. But so what I did is I took all my notes, and then I created a actually I have it on the wall, I can show you. But I took all those career clusters, and I color coded with stickies, and so like I made a thing that's on my wall that sort of gives me like a visual, like I can see where the clusters are, like, because I wrote businesses on sticky notes. I don't know if you can see it on them, then put them on the black construction paper. So that like helped me get like a visual. And then I also just built an Excel database basically, or it's just a Google Sheets. Like I put them all into Google Sheets so I can sort them by clusters. And now I'm like building like contact, like points of contact for some of those businesses that look like they might be really interesting people to go talk to. So I'm hunting down like contact information.
Do you feel like your community needs to expand into Durango, your idea of community, or do you feel good about your base into what you were?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about it right now. The only hesitation I have around there, you know, the thing I'm trying to kind of feel out and decide about is that demographic wise, like what we're experiencing is a lot of younger families moving into our area who are working in Durango. So we're sort of in this like transition from, you know, small town kind of completely separate from Durango. And Durango's not a huge place anyway on its own, but we're smaller. And so from that to sort of like there's kind of this bedroom community vibe sort of thing beginning to cultivate. And between us and Durango is Mercy Regional Medical Center, which is the, you know, the regional hospital and medical center for not just us, but like it's a big player in the whole Four Corners area, and that's a major employer. And so they have satellite clinics out here in Bayfield. And so I don't know, like I'm still trying to like sort of figure that out. And I think some of that's going to come from talking with people, talking with kids about their interests, and then talking with people about, you know, where they see the trends going as far as sources of employment for Bayfield residents and that kind of stuff. So.
Questions or thoughts for Kate? Love it.
I love it. I love that visual. I'm going to have to go redo. I need that visual too. That's very helpful.
Yeah, it was to me too, because I could really see, I mean, while I was driving around, you know, just jotting down notes, and I'm just jotting down what I see based on the geography I'm driving through, right? But so,
yeah,
like, it was like, okay, my sense is that we actually have a lot of like places of work that cluster around this particular topic, but I needed to be able to see that in a more like concrete way to like back up that sort of intuitive sense from that, just from the driving around bit. So
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I just all I did for the colors is just, that's how many colors notes I had. Like, so it was like I just kept them on like I didn't repeat a color on a sheet, but I did repeat it between the two sheets, if that makes sense. But it's really more like the density that has helped me. You know, like we have a whole lot of transportation, distribution, and logistics businesses. And then like we've also got a health sciences cluster, definitely. And then we've got that ag, food, and natural resources. Like these are, I can see them now. I can see that there's a rich array of opportunities within that. So, and I just ended up learning some really interesting stuff, because even just writing down names. Like there's, I didn't think we had any manufacturing, but we actually do, because there's a Durango company called GC Solutions, and they have it's very small, but they have a plant that's manufacturing a polymer that filters wastewater. So it can filter like brewery wastewater, gas well wastewater. Like it's a polymer that gets dumped into the water, and then it collects up everything and sinks to the bottom, and then they just pull the polymer out, and they've got clean water. And so they're manufacturing that right here in Bayfield.
Wait, so did you not know they were doing that there?
No, I had no idea.
So awesome.
Yeah, it's like tucked away in this little like back spot. And so I was just like following the map. I'm like, okay, there's a street there. I'll just drive down it. And like, I was like, okay. And then I just wrote down the name that was on the outside of the building. And I still didn't even know what that was, but it was coming back and doing the sticky notes and then inputting the data into the spreadsheet that I, Googled, like, what is that? Like, so the name and Bayfield, and came up, and I got all this press, right, from like Durango Herald and whatnot that's connected to GC Solutions. And like, this guy has been like out in India. He's been doing all sorts of stuff. Like he's been out in India and Africa, and like they've been on all this water testing and like all kinds of stuff. So like, and it's right here. So who knew?
That's awesome. That's what these are all about. Can you take a photo of your career cluster thing and put it up? Allison, you were thinking the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Other community, we're doing the agenda backwards, and we're going to talk about you all first and then move on to the community engagement stuff. But any other community walk follow-ups or stories or questions? And you can unmute yourselves. I was muting people because there was weird background noise.
Elle, did you want to talk?
Did you say Abby?
Michelle?
Oh, we had Rochelle before you got
Oh
here.
man, I missed Rochelle.
You can go back. It was great.
I just have a question for Kate. Because in where I am, with a recent legalization of marijuana, I'm just wondering how much of that industry is like incorporating itself into your life, because like at least with my high school students now, they're all like wound up and excited to get into that industry. So I'm trying to like figure out how to balance that, because we have all of these new businesses that are starting, like 15 new businesses, like not distribution, not like dispensaries, but like businesses that are incorporating marijuana into food or into like making CBD drops and stuff. So I'm just curious, like how other people who are dealing with the legalization aspect, like how are you looking at that from this future ready perspective?
So the only businesses, so I sort of have an interesting situation, because while it's legal in Colorado and there are like a significant number of dispensaries in Durango, the town of Bayfield has not allowed it in. It was actually on the ballot in November, and it was once again rejected by the voters, like to allow businesses to establish themselves in the town of Bayfield. So like, but they are, the agricultural aspect of it, the growing hemp, and all the pieces of that is starting to take off around us. So like really the only bits that I'm seeing are coming from an agricultural perspective, and there are people who are like, interested in sharing that information. At least I know for sure at the adult level. I don't know about like, talking to kids about careers in it per se, but there have been like a lot of workshops and open forums and things where people who have grown it are sharing lessons learned and whatnot, and funding, sourcing funding for startups and things like that. So like that conversation's happening. So that seems to be okay within our area, is to talk about growing hemp, but like setting up a food business or like a manufacturing CBD oil. I don't know. Like, I don't even know if that would qualify for what the town's structure has set up at this point. Like, because you definitely can't open a dispensary in the town of Bayfield. Like, the town won't allow it. So it's like, it's really, we're kind of in this weird place because we haven't, like, this particular community has not embraced that industry, basically. So I don't know. It's a really good question, though.
That's really interesting because I'm in Washington. Someone who lives down the hall from me started the first farm, marijuana farm, whatever, in the state. And I'm sitting here thinking, there are all these jobs, right? That's what you're talking about, Josie. I hadn't really thought about
Yes.
it.
There's so many jobs. There's like testing, there's, because now in California, they're required to like test everything that goes into dispensary. So now we have like a scientific lab, and that's what they're doing, is they're testing the product before it gets sent to dispensaries.
I was on, I was, when I started Future Ready, I was actually on a marijuana ad hoc committee within my county, working with agriculture, law enforcement, legal community, everybody kind of in one room. And it was actually right when I started the Future Ready conversation. And we did have a lot of conversations around it. The problem is that a lot of the people that are in leadership positions within local government have still a very concerned policy around it. But then what was interesting working with the ag businesses was that they sort of almost have this duality. Like we had a honeybee person who manufactured honey, but also has a huge farm. And so there was kind of that duality, and seeing how it blends is going to be really interesting. But even from like bottling, packaging, marketing, customer service, a lot of skills similar to like a pharmacy tech program I learned, as far as kind of the soft skills involved with communicating about ailments, is really similar. It's a really interesting topic, and I think it's great, Josie, that since you work directly with students, you can kind of advocate what they're saying. For me, from the public library perspective, it was a little off-putting even going there with the group, as far as, well, this is a career option. Yeah. It's really starting to blow up here in Nevada County. So, I mean, it always has been, but now that it's legal, it's like these people that are starting businesses are saying, oh, I'm going to hire 20 people from the community, which is huge. But I guess, like, I'm conflicted about promoting that with middle school students. Well, because it's a very real economic interest in rural areas on the West Coast. It's a very real resource. But then there's also still a gray area with the legality, particularly with ag land and all of that.
And there's just the like I think it's a really interesting thing to look at, like as far as the area's future development and whatnot. But like I can see like there's a certain amount of like just straight up fear that's like, ooh, I can see that being a PR thing gone so wrong. Yeah. And I'm so hypersensitive to that right now because of the fact that we like just lost this funding initiative, and like the question is whether or not we're going to try to go back for it again or not, and if so, like how are we going to structure the request this time? And so like everybody's very on edge around like how do we generate like positive PR that the community will be like, oh look, this is an asset, and we'll get more people who will be willing to support the library. So I like there's this totally like this, oh yeah, the library is trying to convince kids to like be pot shop owners with like just like like totally so there's that piece of it that like causes me anxiety too around it.
One thing that I did, which kind of will tie in I think with what Abby and Allison are gonna share, is the community engagement piece, which was that I just handed the people in the ad hoc committee a bookmark about Future Ready. And we discussed Future Ready and whatever their interests were, and the marijuana conversation came up very naturally. But I really made it clear I was not advocating one thing or the other. It's just, there is an opportunity, and how as a community are we going to address this for young people? But yeah, you're very right, Kate, to have anxiety with it. I would be very cautious. Yeah, totally. And especially working at with me at the high school, like the administration is very
anti and sees it as it's destroying our students and our society. So yeah, it's complicated for sure.
And it's interesting too, because in cohort 1, there was one of the people in the cohort was on a reservation that had project was working with the tribe and having the middle schoolers learn about careers in the casino that were not like at the tables, right? So they learned about accounting and they learned about advertising and all these things. And so it's another kind of, it's not quite the same, but it's another kind of thing is you're not old enough to be participating in this, but yet there's a whole, and on a reservation, that is where the money is, right? That is the industry. So it's a very interesting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good question, Josie. What else? Other walk comments, questions, thoughts? Have they been going up with other people?
One thing I found interesting is I did my drive around with my director, and after that and after we talked about it, I asked her if because everything was new to me because I have not seen the community like that, and so I was really trying to pay attention to one, how she was describing the area she was driving me around. So these are already thoughts that she's come up with those specific areas. And then I asked her, what did you think about after our drive around? Did you notice anything different than what you've noticed? Because she's been here for 40 plus years. And she feels like some of the areas that are known as kind of the bad areas or impoverished areas looked a little better. So I thought that was something to note. Of course, I don't have anything to compare that to, but I did notice that there's not a lot of quote unquote middle class areas. There's a lot of, looks like very run down areas, a lot of, stuff in the yards. And then you go to the north side of town, which is where all the growth is in our town, the Walmart, Hobby Lobby, and all this stuff. And then there's really nice places. There's not a lot in between. So I don't know how that reflects into the community. I'm sure that will make more sense to me as I learn, but I just found it interesting that she realized that she thought that some areas had gotten better. So I guess that's a good sign, even though our population has steadily decreased over the last 10 years.
Anybody else have stories to tell? I think Tyler's community engagement with a presidential candidate is pretty impressive. Yeah, but taking those opportunities, I think, are really exciting when they come up to actually you took that opportunity, and then Megan, Amy, you took that opportunity with being in a conversation with someone, and then meeting the legislator or something. I can't remember what that was.
I think it was Amy.
That was Amy? Yeah. Yeah, very cool. Allison and Abby, are you ready to take the show on the road?
As ready as we'll ever be.
Go for it.
So I guess we were going to have to start by asking, let me turn my volume up. What is up? Okay. So I guess we have to ask them to identify some possible people in the community we could be approaching.
It's hard to hear you, Allison.
Oh, if I scoot up closer.
Go.
Okay. Okay, so I guess we have to ask them to identify some potential people in the community that Abby and I could pretend to be. So maybe somebody you would reach out to, or somebody you think we should reach out to, or you just throw us anything.
So they're going to tell them what you're going to do, so they know like what that throwing out will lead to.
So Abby and I are going to, one of us is going to be a Future Ready cohort participant, and the other is going to be a community member. It could be a business, it could be somebody in the schools. It could be somebody completely random that you just met on the street. But we're going to try and role play a little bit about how that conversation could go to really build community engagement. So if you want to go ahead and write some fun options in the chat that we should try and role play as, go ahead and we will.
What do I want to be when I grow up? Of course, Bailey.
Of course, Bailey. I was waiting for the other one too. Like, are we gonna go with that? Anyone have anything better? Okay.
Both of those are good. We could just use those two and take turns.
Yay,
Bailey, there you go.
Grumpy Walmart manager tattoo art. Tyler, you got a cool
These are all
Grumpy
great.
Walmart manager. Okay, so which ones do you want to go first, Abby? You get to pick.
I would love to be a grumpy Walmart manager.
Okay, so you're going to be the grumpy Walmart manager, and I'll be the future ready person?
Sure.
Okay. Hi, my name is Allison, and I work at the Fayette Public Library here in town.
Oh, that's
What's
fine.
your name?
Oh, well, Joe Schmo.
Joe Schmo. Oh, hi, Joe Schmo. Do you like coffee, Joe Schmo? I happen to have this extra coffee that I just picked up at Latte on the Square.
You know, actually, that makes me slightly less grumpy because I do like coffee.
Oh, great. Here you go.
Thanks.
So I wanted to come chat with you about Walmart and, you know, what types of things you do here. So how long have you been here?
Well, I've been here for 30 years.
Wow.
And you know, we sell everything you could possibly think of because it's Walmart.
So are you originally from Little Town?
Yes.
You are. Wow. So did you grow up in Little Town?
Yes.
Really? That's interesting. So what do you think, you know, growing up in Little Town was like? What was your favorite part?
Well, you know, we didn't have a Walmart when I was growing up. And I helped, you know, start this place. I've been here since the beginning. And man, this town has changed.
Really? How do you think it has changed?
Well, we have Walmart now, which means that we can support more people doing. At least I'm trying to be grumpy.
Well, we
we'll
have
just
a Walmart.
figure it out.
That's true. So you probably employ a lot of people at this Walmart.
Actually, we do.
So do you employ teens here?
We have to have teens be, what is the law? 15.
Oh, okay. So 15 and above. So what is the biggest challenge in employing teenagers in your opinion?
Well, a lot of times they just work during the summer. And so we have to find people to fill their spots.
Oh. Well, what about your full-time employees that you hire that, you know, are new employees in the onboarding process? What do you struggle with?
Well, it takes a long time to train and get people comfortable with what they're doing because they don't have the skills already.
Really? Like what kind of skills?
Like counting back change or being nice to people.
Really? Well, what qualities do you look for when you're hiring? What are some qualities that you look for in new employees?
Well, I want them to work hard and be nice to me.
Oh. And what are your most difficult jobs to fill?
Night
shift. Yeah, I could see. What about, do you do any other work in the community with teens or any other organizations?
I think we give money sometimes, but I don't deal with that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. If you don't deal with that, do you know who at Walmart I could speak with that might, you know, work in the community, or do you do any outreach?
I send them to walmart.com.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd really like to, you know, talk more at another time if you want. I'd love to follow up, or if there's somebody else that you think I should talk to.
You know, I think you could talk to the regional supervisor who would know more about Walmart in general and about what the whole differences in the region areas might be.
Well, that's a great idea. Can I have their contact information?
Sure, I'm going to tell them that you'll bring this yummy coffee to them.
I sure will.
Well, thanks. I gotta go.
All right. I really appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you too.
Secret's applauding.
Oh, good.
I'll applaud.
All right. You want to do one more? Do we want to do an academic one?
You'd be a great principal, Allison.
Oh, a principal? Okay.
Someone did say.
Somebody said school principal.
Yeah, Rochelle did.
Oh, okay.
Was I difficult enough for you, Allison? Grumpy? Anyway. Okay. So I'm going to knock on your door because I'm at the school. Oh, that was a beautiful door. Hi, it's nice to see you. My name's Abby.
Hi, I'm Dr. Principal.
Oh, Dr. Principal. I'm honored that you took some time to meet with me. I know you're very busy.
Oh, thank you.
Here's a coffee that I picked up from my friend Allison.
Oh, wow. I love coffee. Is it a latte though? I really love lattes.
Unfortunately, it isn't. I wasn't sure what you'd like, but here are some packets of creamer and sugar.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks.
So tell me what you've got on your mind today. What kinds of things are you focusing on for your youth?
Well, you know, it just seems that I'm just really overscheduled this week. So I'm really busy, and I just have lots of meetings, and we're worried about these test scores and making all these, you know, tests for the state. And, you know, I have teachers that are upset with me all the time. Oh, you meant about the youth?
No, you know, that's interesting too, because there's a lot that goes into taking care of the youth, I see. And I want to make sure that you use your time as it's valuable as well. So would you mind sharing a little bit about kind of what goes into the meetings? What kinds of topics need to be focused on there to reach your test scores and things like that?
Yeah, we just have to do a lot of training, and, you know, the teachers have to spend a lot of time in, you know, the classrooms teaching, and it's just, we really have to go over the state standards. And since we've been doing so well the past few years, there's a lot of pressure on everybody to make sure that we're meeting these goals. And ultimately that falls on me as well. And these are big stressors for us. And so we try to meet and do a lot of training and things like that, especially in the beginning, in the middle, and the end of the school year.
So can you tell me a little bit about your processes for how these are assessed, how you know before the middle, beginning, and end of year whether the students are on their way?
Well, a lot of that work's done by the counselors. So I really work alongside them to make sure that we're making sure students are on track.
Sure. And so what do you see or hear from them that they're struggling with?
So it seems like the students are just, you know, very stressed out and have a lot of anxiety, as well as being overscheduled. Just, you know, just like I had said, you know, it seems like they're involved in so many things, but I don't know if they're really benefiting by being involved in so many things. And that they have that they're supposed to be doing this, and they have to be in this club, and they have to be in that club, and they have to do all of these things in addition to making a 4.bajillion% grade point average. So I think that they're really overscheduled, which causes anxiety, and that causes them, you know, to maybe not do as well as they could, or it could even impact their self-esteem.
Yeah, I could really see that. So what is your counselor base like?
Well, we only have one for the entire high school. So,
wow.
You know, yeah, she has to make sure that that everyone's doing what they're supposed to, and sometimes, you know, we don't always get to be as active as we could. We really do need more help in that situation. So, I mean, anytime somebody can meet with these kids and talk to them about what maybe some of their options are so that they can do those things is helpful. So
So is there a way, or would you be willing to introduce me to your counselor? I'd like to speak with her and kind of hear how we can help.
Oh, sure. Her name's Melinda. I'll get you Melinda's contact information, and maybe we could sit down together, because I definitely think that there's a need to talk about what some of the main issues are and maybe how we can fix them.
Well, I appreciate how invested you are. Thanks for taking time now and in the future.
All right. It was so nice to meet with you today.
I hope you enjoy your pseudo latte.
Woohoo. I mean, there's no foam, so latte has foam.
I'm not a barista.
Okay, and that was ta-da.
Ta-da.
So our focus in that, obviously it's a little awkward and hokey, but we want to gear toward the right questions instead of, hi, my name is Abby. Would you like to partner with me on this project? It's more about, like Allison was finding out, everything about me as what brought me into being a Walmart person, what I noticed about being a Walmart person, and then trying to assess kind of what we do for the community as is.
Mm-hmm. And then figuring out ways, I think one of the questions we didn't ask is figuring out ways that the library can maybe even help them, even if it's not even if it doesn't work out this time with this project, but how can we help them maybe solve some of the things that they might be struggling with.
And we don't want it to be like, please help me fill my quota of creating a program or anything like that. I don't think anyone's on that path, but it's still maybe early enough to switch into the mind frame of what skills training already exists, or what real, kind of like a, what do you call it? Just a broad spectrum assessment of what's around in your community. If anyone can phrase that better, please do.
Well, and doing it together. Todd has a perfect, being authentic about it versus meeting the need of an end game, of authentically actually caring about what they do in the community, that they live in the community, how they feel about the community in general, and wanting to actually know those things and be interested, and then moving on from there. Not just, I want to get this one program done, whether it's this one or another program, any program.
And not coming to them with the ideas. So it's not like, hey, I can create this for you. Even if you know their need, even if you don't know their need, if we just present something to them, it's outreach instead of engagement, where you really are creating from the ground up and having a conversation about what's going well, what's not going well. And
ultimately, I feel that if you truly do it this way, you find partners that will be partners. You don't find somebody who says that's a great idea and then down to the wire, they don't really actually care. Because when you're doing something that benefits both parties and benefits the community and is a joint effort, you'll find, in my opinion and in my experience, you'll find more partners who are willing to work with you, not let you do the work and then show up the day of.
Right. And it's kind of like, who's already really involved with the community? You know those people, you see those people, but there are nuggets in every town or in every community that have something amazing to share that you might not know to connect with until you talk to somebody who knows them. Or
Todd has a great story he wants to share.
is he still on?
Where did
Todd
just sent a chat message?
Yeah, he did.
Is he frozen?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, it looks like he turned his video off.
I feel like he's
Maybe he's
frozen.
doing something.
I'm going to ask a question then. He's frozen, right? Okay. So what did people know? I mean, you're saying in the chat, but I'm just wondering, like, I have 3 questions asked, but what did people notice about that as you were watching?
Well, the just getting to know you, like not just coming straight out and saying, hi, I'm with Future Ready, or I'm with the library and I'm doing this new project called Future Ready with the library, and this is everything that I think that we should do, and what do you think? But just asking those basic questions. And it's really like, I am such a visual person, so I've even had these conversations with Allison and Abby and some of you guys about what kind of questions do you ask, but being able to see it and see you guys actually ask those questions to one another is really helpful for me. And I love the question, you know, oh, well, great, who else do you think I could talk to, or is there somebody else you can point me to? And so I thought it was a great job. I appreciated that.
I think just the idea of approaching people not with the project, just like as a community member, as a teacher, or as, you know, as a librarian, and saying, hey, just bridging that like very first introduction, because my concern is that when I approach people with the project, they're going to be like, nope, too busy. But the way that you guys did it is, you know, you're just bridging the gap. You're just starting to build community. So I like that.
And I think it also makes you not this person that just showed up out of nowhere. You've never met this person before in your entire life. And then you're asking them to help you and they don't even know you.
Yeah. And adding more to their workload. And it's also a good way to kind of check the temperature. Like, are they interested? Maybe they hate teenagers. and then, you know, like, this isn't going to be a good person for me to partner with.
I love that. Check the temperature.
Yeah.
I love that you walked away without anything, right? You might have had another name, but you were like, you walked away and you didn't have anything except like the beginning of a relationship. So you had something, but it wasn't like, okay, here's the next step. I love that.
I felt that way. I got to meet with a lady out at our community college, and I was so excited because she reached out to me about us meeting because she found one of our bookmarks, which I have no idea how she found it, but she did. And so I left kind of feeling, I don't know, disappointed, but after I've had some more time to think about it, it was just really, that's all that conversation was. It was just getting to meet and establishing that relationship. I don't know, I guess I went in with the expectations of, oh my gosh, this is going to be a partner and we're going to discover a plan on this exact meeting and I'm going to leave and we're going to know exactly what we're doing. And it was more just, I just listened to what she does there at the college. She asked me a couple of questions. We decided to meet again after the new year, and that's kind of all it was. And so I left there thinking, maybe I didn't do something right or I didn't ask the right questions. But hearing you, like seeing your guys' role play and hearing what you guys are saying, I think that that was absolutely fine. And that will just take time to develop. So patience.
That's a good thing.
When cohort 2 was in Denver, Carol had a really helpful story for me. And it was about how her library had been trying to work with the local tribe in her area for quite some time. And it just really didn't go anywhere. And then she met with them and they just talked. And she learned, not with really an agenda, just talking. And she learned that they were really proud of their, you know, history. And she was able to connect that with her library's archives and their history room. And that really kind of shifted that whole dynamic. And what we had talked about, the mentors and Linda, was kind of that concept of authenticity, as far as if it's a real connection between the two, that can lead to some really interesting things. And that kind of philosophy is carried on with me for this past year. an example of that would be, I really wanted to partner with our local homeless shelter on some project. And before kind of doing this project, I really would have been like, go to the homeless shelter and these are my ideas of what we should do. And instead, I just talked to the shelter director and people that worked there, and they said, we really need socks this winter. That's what we need. And I said, well, we can do a sock fine forgiveness program, and people can donate their socks. We'll remove their fines, and we've raised thousands of socks for them. And now they're actually reaching out to us to help promote just different things that we're doing. But before, I think I really would have gone in with my own ideas and agenda versus simply trying to find out what their needs are. So a philosophy that will carry on in other ways too.
Can you hear me okay?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Carla.
I had a great situation that happened. I have a high school classmate that I meet twice a year, and she happens to be a professor at Illinois State University, and she handles incoming freshmen who are going into special education. And just in our conversation, I didn't bring up anything about Future Ready. And I said, what do you see in these in freshmen as they're coming in? And without even hesitation, she began to tell me about how kids do not know how to handle disappointment. If they don't do well on a test, they don't know how to react. And I find that really interesting why that would be. The only thing they know to do is to get on Facebook and talk about it. So I just wanted to share that. And she said professors across the board, teachers across the board agree that if they're not happy with the grade, the parents will intervene and things like that. So how do you move kids to a place where they can persevere if something happens, if something goes wrong? So just thought I'd put that out there. It was a good practice conversation.
I love that idea, Carla, of this practice conversation, but even Abby and Allison say this, I think, maybe not in this exact way, but sort of making this a part of your life, right? So just as you're talking to people, can be anyone, to ask some of these questions and find out what they see is really awesome. It's great. One of the things I love about what Todd said and about what Carol had talked about and then what Todd talked about is that I know with that project that Carol was talking about is they were trying to do story time at the reservation and just wasn't working. But that's because it was about the library wanted to bring story time to the reservation. Todd probably would have gone to the homeless shelter and said, we're going to bring story time or whatever to the homeless shelter. And that's not what they needed. So I love that.
I actually was going to do that. But that wasn't a need for them. They needed socks, and so we got them socks.
What was the discovery period like, as far as time frame, for you to realize it's not story time, they needed socks?
I would say a period of like 3 or 4 meetings of just getting to know each other. The other thing, I didn't really use I'd like to partner with you verbiage. Sometimes using language like that can actually make people uncomfortable because it's just like, well, what does that mean? I just said, I'd really like the library to work with you. We serve a lot of the same people. And I went to them, so it, made it really easy. And then through just a series of conversations, because they also had, one thing you'll discover too is a lot of the people that you'll reach out to maybe have been burned on some not so great partnerships in the past. And so you have to build that trust up. But it took a little while, but it wasn't an unreasonable amount of time. So sock it to library fines. So.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah. It's actually was the best program we did it this winter or this holiday season. So.
It's a good reminder that it's not 1 meeting, 2 meeting done. It's 4 meetings at least. And
Kate, can you say more about that? I love that.
Well, I just think that, you know, all these things that we're talking about, how are we approaching people, you know, in a way that is like savvy in a social and social emotional skill type way in order to open the conversation more. Like, so, you know, I feel like, you know, it's learning to like really integrate those skills ourselves first, and then demonstrate them, like, and then that is actually what would like lead people to buy into something like this, is like this positive experience with dealing with people who have a high social emotional intelligence, which is what we're trying to cultivate within ourselves, I think, as we move through this project. And, you know, like, wow, that this is a really positive experience to connect with this person. This is like, they must really know what they're talking about when it comes to this, like bringing this, like this style, these skills out into the community in connections with adults and with youth. So like, that's just kind of seems sort of like where that's moving for me, I guess.
Allison and Abby, do you have any follow-up to your role playing? Not to put you on the spot.
Gosh. I'm blanking right now.
Okay. I'm going to say one other thing that the coaches have been talking about and that I think we'll move into a little bit, and that's about the difference between community outreach and community engagement. We're not going to get into that today, but just thinking about what we're talking about today is community engagement and not outreach. I mean, there are pieces that fit in, you know, outreach does fit into community engagement, but it's different. So if I said to all of you, do you do community engagement? Does everybody do outreach? If I said, do you do outreach? Would you all raise your hand? Yeah. And what do you mean, Karen, what do you mean by outreach? You've done this. What do you mean by outreach? You have to unmute yourself. There you go.
It took me a minute. I kept clicking on the microphone. So community outreach is basically any time I go into the community to do any kind of a program, or even just facilitating some sort of get together, but it's not in my library, where I'm going out to people versus them coming to me.
Right. So you're bringing some program or some materials or something. And
even if it's on the radio or something like that, if it's not a program where people have come to me, then I consider it outreach.
Right. So what's different about that from what we're talking about today?
Well, what I wrote down was let them generate ideas. That's engagement as opposed to outreach. So somebody had said, when you're talking with people, instead of saying, hey, I have this idea, what do you think? Then just saying, so what are some of the needs that you see, or what are some of the trends, or what are some of your observations, and then letting them generate ideas and having a conversation about their ideas.
Right.
You know what your ideas are, but let them bring ideas to the table, and then you can have a whole conversation about it.
Cool. Yay. Yeah, and we'll talk more. Oh, Allison, what are you going to say?
I was just going to say, and it's long term.
Yeah.
This isn't just for one program or one event. It's not, and then it's done. And then you don't see that person or that partner again for another year, an annual, you know, it's just, it's, I guess that's what I just tried. This doesn't end. It never ends. And that in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm going to switch gears because there's an interesting conversation going on in the chat. Yeah. Who wants to say something about that?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Lisa, you said that you're a little apprehensive about approaching partners because do you feel that the library has a history of that's what they always do? They always ask for something? Or do you feel like you're working against that history there?
I think there is a history there, not since I've been here, because I have not done that. And I think that people think that if the library is going to come and ask to talk to you, that that's what they're there for. What else could they possibly be there for unless to ask you for something? So I find it a little, I struggle with how to approach them so that they don't feel that. So yeah, some of your role playing.
Wait,
and the questions that you're asking is helpful.
Can I jump in here a minute?
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was when I approached some of my community groups, so Rotary, Lions, the Business Association, and I told them that that our library had been picked for this program. And like, I went out there and was telling people about this like in June. And I said, I don't really know what it's all about, but we got picked. And so I did tell people, I said, I know I'm going to be coming and talking to you about what this all means when I find out. So when I went to Rotary and the Lions Club and different community organizations, and we started talking about what it all meant, I asked them for ideas, not for, because you guys told me at Salt Lake, like, don't ask for partnerships, don't have a plan. So basically I just went out and I asked people for ideas, and I asked if they knew somebody that I should talk to. And so when I called people, and I'm thinking of a specific example, Rotary had given me the names of a couple of business owners that aren't even really in my town. They're several miles out, but they're not in my service area per se. But when I called them, I said, hi, this is Karen. I'm with Slippery Rock Community Library, and I got your name and telephone number from John, blah, 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 at the university, and I wanted to know if I could chat with you. And a lot of times just having a name made it not a cold call. Okay, so then they were a little bit more receptive to hear that I wanted to have a conversation with them about things that they think about the community. And so it was very open. It wasn't, hey, what can you do for middle schoolers? It was just, hey, what do you think about the community? I want to have a conversation about this community. And that seemed to go over very, very well.
And Karen, that was awesome. And what you made me think about when you were talking about that is maybe starting with a group as opposed to starting with like a person. So like you said, Rotary or whatever. So I wonder, Lisa, if you went to a group and were able to talk about this so that they're realizing, oh, it's not just about what can you do for me.
And even a group, even if there isn't a Rotary or there isn't a Lions or there's not a service organization or anything like that, some people in cohort 3 even hosted, group conversations or roundtables where they invited people to come talk about it in the community or at the library, and maybe that's something that would work better for you and for your community. But it's always nice to go where they're at because they're already there. But sometimes, hosting a little event and offering some refreshments and just saying, we're going to have a chat about that. Let's chat about the youth or something.
Going to chat about the youth.
Chat about the youth.
Well, and I like what Abby said about an opportunity to rebrand our library, which we're working on that. We've totally changed our mission statement and vision statement and all of that. And we've been doing a lot of community outreach and engagement as well.
That's cool.
So I think I can see the opportunity. It's just me, I think. I think I just need to get over that and just do it.
I think once you start though, you've got it. I know you've got it. So I think once you start or try a few, you're going to feel so comfortable that you're going to be like Tyler, talking about it to everyone all the time, wearing a big t-shirt that says, talk to me about your teenagers, or, you know?
Talk to me about the youth.
Let's talk about youth.
And maybe Lisa just at first remove the word partner.
Yeah.
Just remove that expectation and just go out and try to learn as much as you can. And then the partnership will come.
So Todd, and I know we're out of time, but what do you say instead of partner?
Well, I mean, I think ultimately in the back of your head, looking for a partner is the objective. But I think at first, if you have some reservations to it, it kind of can create some nerves going into it versus simply just learning first and exploring these different businesses or people that you could work with. I think sometimes, I mean, eventually they will be your partner for it, but maybe at first in the exploration, it puts a little too much pressure on you for exploring it. I don't know if that makes sense or if that resonates with anybody.
I wonder if you could call it, even personal, you don't have to talk about it this way, but just personally frame it around, I'm doing a needs assessment, or I'm doing a,
yeah,
in the community. So then you're not going into it like, how can you and I work together? But it's what needs to happen, what is happening.
Yeah.
I like
and then
that.
you talk to a bunch of people instead of one, but you're one, because two people makes a partnership. Two, you just talk to the community.
Well, and the groups that you're talking about, the Rotary Club and Lions Club, a lot of those folks that could be potential partners will be already in those groups. So I think that that's a great idea. And we do have that. We have Rotary, we have Lions, we have the Optimist Club. So there's all kinds of things a lot of groups that I can approach.
We'll get some t-shirts or maybe some bumper stickers. All right, we are out of time and I know people have other things to do. I did want to just mention, if you have not sent in your materials request form, your professional materials, please fill out that form because YELS is waiting to do it all at once. And so if you could do it that this week, that would be great. I just put the link in the chat. I'm hoping we will have another guest speaker next week. So that we will continue to do us and speakers and mix it all up. So thank you all. I'm just so excited by all the work you're doing and I really appreciate it. This is our third cohort and you guys have jumped off faster than anyone and it's really great. So thank you all for all the work and we will be talking to you soon. Bye everybody.